All right. Are you ready for the first week of New Testament survey? Basically, this week we're going to go through 5 lectures. I've already explained to you a little bit in my introductory video about the syllabus. So you've got that down, know a little bit about me. But this week we're going to be considering, first of all, an overview of the Bible. The New Testament, of course, is the second part of an Old and a New Testament. So there's an Old Testament and a New Testament, and we'll be talking about who the central character is of the New Testament. I imagine many of you know who that is. And just talk about the idea of what does the word testament mean, covenant, all these kind of things. Also, in the next lecture, we'll talk about how the New Testament was actually formed. How did it begin? We'll be talking about the first century. And then we move on to the formation of the New Testament canon. Well, what exactly do we mean by canon? Then we talk about the second century development, the acceptance of the Gospels. There was a lot of documents actually written, and we boiled it down to just 4 that were considered to be legitimate, because there was like a Gospel of Peter that was not accepted. And then there was various canons, people trying to put together lists of books. Well, and finally we came all the way down to a list of 27 books. And finally, there was different translations. It was originally written in Greek and then was translated, interestingly enough, into Latin. And then, of course, later on into English and many other languages. So in just the translation of the texts, you could ask the question, was there any originals? Can we find the original New Testament book, say, of Matthew? And the answer is no. But there is many copies made over the centuries. We'll be talking about, well, what were the problems of transferring? How can we be sure that it's accurate? And we'll be talking about the credibility of the New Testament quite a bit. We talk about the idea that it was written in Greek and then eventually translated into various languages. We'll be looking and taking a deeper look at the area where the New Testament was birthed, in the little region called Palestine. And as you know well, it's a pretty dynamic place, even in these days. A lot of things going on with the Israel and the surrounding nations there. Well, that's where the New Testament was birthed. Just a little area about half the size of Kansas. And we're going to talk about a brief history of the Jews going all the way back to Abraham. And then we're going to talk about the history as it goes up through Alexander the Great, and then the conquest by the Romans, and what happened leading up to the birth of Jesus Christ. And our final lecture, we're going to consider what were the unifying ideas in Judaism. In many ways, Judaism was a little bit like the cradle in which the Christianity, the Christian faith was birthed. Because Jesus was a Jew. He was raised in Judaism, and he presented the gospel. And then, of course, the other great writer of the New Testament was the Apostle Paul. Now, he was steeped in Judaism. Well, what exactly is Judaism? What do they believe? And how does the New Testament relate to the doctrines of Judaism? So we'll be talking about the temple and then the synagogue. And the synagogue is a little bit like our modern day churches. So those are some of the things that we'll be considering in this first week. I'm looking forward to sharing that with you.